Good morning, everyone. I'm Nihal Krishan. I'm a tech reporter with FedScoop and CyberScoop here in Washington. We focus on the nexus of tech and politics, tech and government. We have like 8 to 10 million readers, primarily focused on issues like artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, data privacy, cloud wars, and little by little blockchain. Hopefully more of that to come. And we have our panel today kicking us off on generative AI and blockchain, two incredibly exciting spaces that some would say have great intersectionality and commonality that can potentially make each of them stronger, sort of like, you know, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, two good things that could be even better in one place. So before we get the conversation started, I wanted to introduce each of our panelists and give them a minute or so to introduce themselves and their background. We'll start with Yeshwant.
Hi everyone. Are you able to hear me? Okay. Yeah. My name is Yeshwant Muthusamy. I am an independent strategy and technology consultant. I have my own consulting firm, Yeshwant Solutions LLC, and I specialize in areas such as generative AI, AR, VR, IoT, and IP analysis. I am currently a co-founder of a startup in the orthodontic space. We are trying to do a patient-centric care management system that uses a series of innovative orthodontic appliances as well as AI and blockchain at the back end. But I have been interested in generative AI for quite a while now.
Thanks. Bryan?
My name is Bryan Feinberg. I'm the founder of Plato AI. We are a generative platform, primarily around the intelligence space. We started the company in 2018 really as a response to security vulnerabilities that we found not only in publisher websites, but really specifically in blockchain-related sites. So we took a security-first perspective, and as we started to, I would say, shift our marketing focus and kind of our value proposition about 2.5 years ago, it was all about using open source intelligence and kind of being able to distill that down into intelligence that people can consume. We've been running a live beta for about 2.5 years now, and we kind of want to continue along that path because it gives us an opportunity to be able to understand not only users, but kind of how these new really on-the-shelf technologies can be used and deployed against specific use cases. So we're very focused on Web3 from an infrastructure perspective, and we believe in not only its usability against our use case, but a way to really be able to deliver authentic engagements. A couple of weeks ago, we launched GBA Global OSINT, which is a derivative of Plato that is curating intelligence across 35 different 35 different market verticals and 33 different languages. So language should not be an impediment for us to be able to kind of drive relevant knowledge into users' environments.
Thanks, Bryan. Dr. Adel?
Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Adel ElMessiry, and my PhD is in AI and blockchain. And I'm an unrepentant entrepreneur, so I've had 3 successful exits and have half a dozen startups between startups that focused on fintech like AlphaFin or WebDB Tech that does back-end development, health reasoning that is focused on healthcare, AI use specifically, and Gig Homes, which is transforming how the real estate market is changing. And then a little known thing called AIVP. Don't worry, I will shamelessly promote all my companies throughout the day. So, and I'm so happy to see a lot of familiar faces here.
Thank you, thank you. So to kick us off, obviously generative AI has had a massive, AI has been around for, a decade plus, or many decades in its original forms, but generative AI has particularly exploded in this past year thanks to ChatGPT and OpenAI and now Bard and others, like Stable Diffusion in the visual realm. Things are happening in the video and audio realm as well. And so, that's why we're here talking about generative AI, because of major advancements made just in the past year that have built on decades of research. And then, of course, blockchain, which is the underlying technology behind some of the major cryptocurrency platforms we have, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the platforms they host in terms of transactions and tokens, and a new way of transactions in general, whether they're financial or it's information, or sort of the broader information ecosystem. And this is why we wanted to combine two of these innovative, but in some ways also risky and potentially scary technologies that can make us better, but in some ways have significant risks and challenges to their widespread use as well. And so the very first thing that I'm curious about is, what role can blockchain technology play in enhancing the transparency and trustworthiness of AI-generated content and decisions of government and industry as both of these technologies explode?
Can I jump in?
Sure, please.
There? So cryptographic stenography has been around for a while. Digital watermarking has been around for a while. And the ability to kind of now validate content and media, whether it's proprietary or licensed, can be done on chain. And it can be done in a way so that we can trust that information as it came from valid sources. We see now a lot of multinational companies out there like Thomson Reuters that is, on a litigation, tear right now against all the majors for the, let's say, the improper use of proprietary content. And as deep fake technology now starts to become more of a commercial reality and accessible not only to developers and creators, but also to nefarious groups that are using that kind of information to be able to shift not only public policy, but sentiment around very, very important topics that we're all faced with. We're at a very important crossroad right now, and it reverts back to some comments I made during the last conference about our, I think, responsibility to kind of self-regulate ourselves and understand that the technologies that we are building right now, we're all on the edge, right? This is kind of the future now, and how AI and this kind of content becomes part, not only ingrained in the culture, but part of kind of our daily life. And it's really an important topic right now that is in legislation, or at least legislation discussion on how to be able to establish ethical standards regarding the validity of that information that goes across the wire.
Understood. Yeshwant?
Yep. So the way I see it is, blockchain provides, as Bryan mentioned, much needed guardrails for generative AI. And it also kind of pulls back the curtain in some sense, because all of these AI models, these deep learning, deep neural networks, they have been pretty much like black boxes, and blockchain helps to kind of let people know what could potentially be going on inside them. So it could be, and it is possible, although it may not be completely be done yet, it is possible to have an immutable and transparent audit trail with the help of blockchain, so that you know why an AI model is doing what it's doing. And that, I think, is going to go a long way in helping people gain more trust in these Gen AI models.
Understood.
So just to get one thing out of the way, I did not pay you to ask that question. Because this is such a critical question that I actually have devoted a majority of my time in the last year to actually focus on that. So I mentioned earlier that one of my companies is a protocol called AIVP. AIVP is AI Value Protocol. and it is designed from the grounds up to actually solve the problems that my colleagues here talked about. How do you know that this AI is actually providing the value that it would provide? Hence, we needed to use blockchain in order to prove that value and record it immutably on the blockchain, which is the protocol provides you with. And then, on top of that, the ability to get verification and certification that your AI is doing what you are claiming that this AI is doing, including verification of the output as well as verification of the algorithms that AI is using in the system. So combining those two together, the end game here for the AI VP is basically to answer the question of, I want to select an AI for my project, or I want to know what is doing what. You're going to be able of looking at all of that stuff, as well as looking at a full complete history on the blockchain, and nobody can falsify that later on. The final thing here that I think that this technology, because of course I am crazy according to my wife, so the way that I look at blockchain is not cryptocurrencies or blockchain as a way to record things, but really it is recording value. What that means is on Web 2, we were able of doing a lot of good things, commerce and so forth. One thing that we could not do is transact and own the value that operates underneath that Web 2. You had to go to the banking system. Blockchain brings that on the chain. That's why when you hear Web 3.0, that's where blockchain is bringing it. So imagine a world that is powered by AI, that has guardrails for something like AI VP, and then the AI itself transacts on the economy using blockchain as the value rails there. That's what I think the future is going to be.
Thank you. So we're just going to put up an image, a visual that we have, real quick, if we can, and I'll give a little bit of further context on this. I think this will be helpful to our audience. So these are just some of the key examples of uses of generative AI, and then ways in which blockchain can be used to enhance it or synthesize with it and make it even better and stronger. This was put together by one of our panelists, Yeshwant. And it gives us a broad sense that I think both of these technologies and tools, one, are built upon massive amounts of data, and data privacy is key both with blockchain and with generative AI. Blockchain obviously has much more of an emphasis on transparency and on verification, which is, I think, something, as people have already touched upon, could be of great benefit within AI. But you can already see there's major companies like IBM, like Dapper Labs, like Alethea, that are trying to find the puzzle pieces of combining both of these tools together. And I think we'll expect this to grow in the coming years, which brings me to my next question, which is, I know a lot of you have some high technical expertise, but try to take that technical expertise and explain to us in simple layman's terms, how specifically can generative AI models be meaningfully bought and sold using blockchain and decentralized marketplaces with smart contracts? How specifically do we make that happen in a simple way?
Well, I think that the convergence right now between being able to create a new use case for blockchain is very, very apparent. And trying to find the holy grail of a consumer product that can capture the imagination not only of 100 million people, but 1 billion people, really has to do with the ability for us to create machine learning models against the backdrop of our own data, where we own that essentially not only the output of it, but the knowledge and the ability to kind of pass that knowledge forward. And having a back-end system that stores that information, that needs to be built under important things like HIPAA compliance, because we are carrying our lives around on our phones right now. And the ability to query that information is more important than let's say, going to ChatGPT and asking for some suggestions for, party favors. So I think that the blockchain ecosystem itself has now been not only challenged, but is growing into its responsibility to kind of break out of the NFT and meme coin thing that's been going on for the last couple of years. Not that that was bad, it was a stepping stone in the evolution until another technology came around where blockchain can be used. So I think we're going to see a lot more generative technologies in consumer products right now, and the ability for us to be able to leverage these technologies in our own personal ways.
Understood. So I hear you, Brian, on the personal data role. I guess if you or others could speak to the fact that, right now, most generative AI tools, ChatGPT, Stable Diffusion, BART, others, are based on data that has been privately collected and are fenced off, right? And so we don't know exactly what their training model data is, and it's usually not very transparent. How could you take a playground like that clearly is in a private fence, and how could it be integrated with a blockchain technology which is hyper transparent, or at least that's its intention with its data, with the source of training data? How could that happen?
Yeah.
Please, Yeshwant.
So the way I see it is, with blockchain, you're able to record the origin and the provenance of the data which was used in the Gen AI models. And that has two advantages. One is you know exactly what data was used to train the Gen AI model, which right now is not the case for ChatGPT and BART and all the others. You have to go by what they tell you, and you have to take them at their word. With the blockchain, you won't have to, because you will be able to know exactly where the data came from. And there is also with the help of smart contracts, the people who contributed the data can be properly compensated, which is very important, because I think we are at the cusp of a lot of lawsuits for IP infringement. It is coming. I mean, there are already a lot of news reports that the New York Times is getting ready to sue OpenAI at $150,000 per infringement of the content. And there are a number of other news items along those lines. So with blockchain, I think you're going to help solve most of those problems, because you know exactly where the data came from, who owned it, and you will be able to provide some kind of compensation using smart contracts. So based on you gave X percent of the data that went into this model, therefore you're entitled to X amount, and so on and so forth. So I think that's where the real value of the combination of the two technologies, the way I see it.
I see. Anything
So
further?
I wanted to add to the same point here and pick up on how do you compensate people that actually contribute to AI. And before we go into that, according to the latest McKinsey report on AI, generative AI is estimated that it will contribute 2.6 trillion to 4.6 trillion in the next decade to the economy annually. Do you know how much the UK GDP is? 3.1. So it's a huge amount of economy that going to be added into the net global economy here. And the part where blockchain can be used as an incentivization mechanism. So basically, let's take, for example, there is a company backed by Rice University that is trying to distribute the AI processing. So when you have an AI problem and it is working, it could work on your phones, your machines, and so forth. And in return, what you're going to get out of that is small tokens, while your phone or your machine is used to power the AI machine and generate value for it. And that can only happen with something like blockchain. Why? Because number one, you need immutability. Number two, you need a system that you can have trust in it. Number three, you need a system that can be divisible. So blockchain tokens can be divisible by 10 to the power of 18. So although it's small, but it accumulates a lot. That incentivization mechanism will open up huge new ways for everybody, like common people, to make value and drive an income out of the AI revolution that we are seeing here.
Thank you. And so to build upon this concept of smart contracts and how they could be used with generative AI tools, are there any examples in the world right now? We had some examples up on the screen before, but are you aware of any examples of small or larger generative AI tools that do use smart contracts in some way, shape, or form right now? Are there any use cases of this? And if there's not, why? And how could smart contracts be baked in? How can we incentivize generative AI companies and tools to bake such smart contracts in if such examples are already
we've already started on our smart contract development, and it really has to do with the output of essentially leasing computational resources on our side, and to be able to run machine learning model studies on individual data sets that a user would end up providing. We see a lot of interface going on across the developer communities right now with some very innovative tools that allow users to be able to kind of replicate these processes. In fact, in the Plato OSINT platform, we run machine learning models every day, not only on the content that we're generating for the network, but against the backdrop of the GBA website. And essentially, to be able to have conversations with our data right now should be a private and personal thing that should be protected on some sort of a cryptographic layer. Blockchain is, it's an obvious fit for us, only because we kind of understand the power of being able to kind of create this provenance on the information. If we end up now obtaining knowledge from a system and then, let's say, reinvesting that back into an open repository so 10,000 other people can benefit from that knowledge base, it starts to create a very, very layered and relevant user experience that really should be rewarded. But rewards come in many forms. It's not just about economic reward. It's more about kind of social reward and the ability to kind of have impact in the marketplace. And as different marketplaces, such as the ESG market and so forth, are trying to find also solutions for being able to validate carbon credits and fractionalize them and do some really innovative things. We need to be able to store that in an environment that we can trust, we can access, we can transfer, we can sell, we can license, or we can do nothing with it until we need it, and then we have access to it. So I think the next year or so in this very, very fast-paced market, you're going to start to see more consumer applications using AI to kind of grow the inherent user base right now that is starting to really scale again, reminiscent of what happened in blockchain in 2016 and 2017 during the let's say the second coming of the ICO. And we're going to find new ways of being able to apply this, with the blockchain as its, back-end infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Yeshwant, Dr. Adel, especially on smart contracts and use cases of them in generative AI.
I had in the slide that I made, I actually
we can
had
pull
one or
up that
two
slide if
names
possible.
up there. I don't quite recall the companies that are doing this, but one thing that I
we
see,
have it up.
right? So I think that tokenization. I think the Dapper Labs is doing something, as well as Singularity Net. That's the one that I was referring to. But I think one thing that blockchain enables is this microtransactions, and that comes very useful in Gen AI models. The use of a Gen AI model by different organizations may not be the same. So you pay for just what you use. And that, at this point in time, without blockchain, that's very difficult to quantify. But with the help of smart contracts and the fact that you can have micro transactions done on the blockchain, that makes it a lot easier. So you pay for just the aspect of the AI model which you're going to make use of.
And is anybody using this already?
If they are, they haven't made it very
I see.
public, and I think that one company name as well,
Well, I think you also see ChatGPT and OpenAI. There's a token infrastructure that's already in place that allows developers to be able to kind of throttle their use and manage their use. The one thing when you go into these kind of big data environments is the cost of extraction. And the cost of extraction right now is micro pennies. When I tell you, and again, part of the disruption that we see in content creators and authors and writers, a year and a half ago, before the commercialization launch of ChatGPT, you would have an Indian ghostwriter or somebody in Asia that is willing to work at very low cost to be able to generate an article for 500 words, where in our system it's costing us a fraction of a penny, right, to be able to kind of deliver this with pretty much the same kind of relevance. Without, we're trying to create personality here on the content itself that's being generated, and I think that's only going to be involved, and the cost will actually go down because of commoditization there.
Certainly. So on the topic of personality, I'm told we have to wrap up here pretty shortly, but rapid fire, just last 1 minute for each of you. I wanted to ask, generative AI has shown remarkable advancements in creative fields like art and music. How can, I'm curious, what are some fun and unexpected uses of generative AI that each of you have encountered personally, and what that can teach us? Just a minute each, and anything fun or surprising or unique that you've had with generative AI.
Boy, I think one thing that I have found is that generative AI, I'm going to take a slightly different tack on this. One thing is it cannot be a substitute for human ingenuity and creativity. I think we still need to keep human ingenuity at the center of everything that we do with Gen AI. There are some extremely powerful tools, don't get me wrong. They make you do things faster, they make you more efficient at what you're going to do, but we still have to retain our creativity and, by extension, our humanity as we go about using these tools. We cannot abdicate those things to these tools. These tools are very powerful, but we still need to be at the center of human creativity needs to be at the center of everything we do.
So from a fun point of view, I have a 12-year-old kid. So I was playing with a ChatGPT and asked it to write a story about a 9-year-old kid in a 9-year-old style about going and eating with his parents. And it was going fine, and it's writing a lot of stuff until it started to say, I'm very afraid. So I started asking, why are you afraid? And to my wonder, it said, I'm afraid that my parents are going to leave me at the fast food place and by myself. So apparently, the AI that is being trained on data that we don't know what it is, if you dig deeper into it as a psychology session, those inner thoughts from the unconsciousness of the AI, if we can call it that way, starts to surface on the surface of the AI. That was fun.
Thank you for that. And
certainly, I think there are creative markets like the music industry right now that are using AI not only to be able to kind of generate content, but to use math at the infrastructure of that, which again, for those that play and write music and compose, understand that this is Fibonacci all over the place in terms of kind of the way music is put together. So we kind of see this as, soon to get into a lot of creative hands to generate an entire, a new generation of, art out of it.
Thank you very much. I think we've had a lot of food and data for thought, and I'm going to hand things back. Right.